two of the most famous women in the world. One, a Hollywood star, recently married into the British royal family.
Meghan Markle is the most radical thing to happen to the royal family in decades.
The other, home counties born and bred, destined to be our future queen. Now sisters-in-law, along with their husbands, they've been dubbed the Fab Four and heralded as the future of the monarchy.
Do you ever have disagreements about things?
Oh, yes.
But recently, reports of a royal rift between Meghan and Kate have hit the front pages.
Meghan, if she did have a weak bridezilla moment, she wouldn't be the first bride to have experienced that.
Stories emerged of drama at a bridesmaid dress fitting.
The future Queen of England was in tears over what Meghan had said to her.
So, is Meghan really the diva she's being portrayed to be?
Meghan's like, I've got to go. Got to get it all done now. I think she needs to chill and slow down a little bit.
Or is she suffering the inevitable British media backlash? And are the reports of a feud disguising where the real tension lies?
I was told that the rift was actually between William and Harry, and that actually the problems were between the brothers.
As the royals put on a Christmas show of unity, has the Queen had to intervene?
She might say to her son, Charles, you're their father-in-law. Knock their heads together, please.
Are the Windsors still haunted by the last American divorcee, Wallis Simpson, to marry into the family? Or is the rumoured rift just a tabloid tale?
The media, contrary to popular belief, do not make up stories.
And when Kate does become queen, will Meghan be prepared to fall in line?
Kate will always be in front. This is going to be alien to her, having to curtsy to her sister-in-law in public.
Meghan needs to understand this is the British monarchy, and she's not in a TV show. This is not a performance. This is the real story.
On a glorious spring day in May 2018, Meghan Markle married Prince Harry in what many saw as the dream wedding.
The image was of an absolute fairy tale wedding. I mean, it went perfectly. The bride was resplendent in that beautiful gown, in pure white with that exquisite veil.
It was like a film set, and it was quite breathtaking.
I think Meghan is a breath of fresh air and can do a lot to modernise the royal family. And also, being a biracial woman, that's very important.
The guest list reflected American actress Meghan's own mixed-race background.
It was the first time I'd seen such a mixture of ethnicities at any royal wedding before. The royal wedding signified hopefully a change towards not completely doing away with the past, but at least doing away with things that are not conducive to modern life and modern living.
At the end of the royal wedding, a black woman came up to me and she said to me, we've got a sister in the palace. And I thought, that's going to change her view of the royal family forever.
With around 2 billion people watching worldwide, Meghan was seen as a modernising influence on the House of Windsor, and the wedding confirmed them as our new favourite royal couple. Seven years earlier, William and Kate's marriage had also captivated the nation. Commoner Kate was also seen as the new blood the royal family desperately needed. Robert Jobson has been reporting on the royals for more than 25 years.
She's done a brilliant job. She hasn't really ever put her foot wrong. She looks immaculate, she works tirelessly for her charities, and she supports the monarchy and Prince William impeccably.
Before Meghan and Harry's wedding, the two couples were already seen as the future of the monarchy and nicknamed the Fab Four.
Fab Four was coined by the media just after William, Kate, Meghan and Harry attended their first forum for the Royal Foundation. It was the first engagement that they had done as a foursome, and so, you know, this title, the Fab Four, was born.
Catherine, Harry and I are delighted to be here this morning, and we're particularly happy to be at our first Royal Foundation event with Meghan. Today...
This was the new monarchy. They're young, they're attractive. It's just a great advert for the royals, who we often think of as fusty and old-fashioned and, you know, too steeped in tradition.
Look, you know, we're stuck together for the rest of our lives, so...
This is true.
Togetherness at its
Togetherness,
finest.
yeah.
The Fab Four were not only raising awareness for important causes, but boosting the royal family's popularity. Meghan and Harry's pre-wedding tour around the UK was a massive success, drawing big crowds. But just a few months later, after the fairy tale wedding, came the inevitable media backlash. Late last year, stories started to surface that all was not well. The two couples were now being pitted against each other, no longer a unit, and the finger of blame in the papers was pointed firmly at the new Duchess of Sussex.
It's certainly been the case that Meghan had an incredible run of 6 months in the media where she could do no wrong, and then some of the flaws started being uncovered. Some of the behind-the-scenes details started to leak out.
Newspaper headlines claimed a rift had developed between Meghan and Kate. One story claimed just before the wedding, Meghan brought Kate to tears at a bridesmaid dress fitting for her 3-year-old daughter, Princess Charlotte.
It's true to say that someone did see Catherine upset after a bridesmaid's dress fitting.
Kate had just given birth to Prince Louis, so maybe she was a little bit emotional, but whatever the thing was, the future Queen of England was in tears over what Meghan had said to her.
Meghan, if she did have a weak bridezilla moment, she wouldn't be the first bride to have experienced that. She was also planning a wedding that the entire globe was going to be tuning into.
I think Kate would very definitely be threatened by Meghan's presence and her appearance on the royal scene. I do think if you had been the top dog, if you had been the young, gorgeous girl that everyone had been photographing for the last 2 or 3 or 4 years, and you know, all your works had been highlighted, everything you've done, you might be a little bit put out when this gorgeous American Hollywood star arrives on the scene.
Reports of other tiffs and tantrums before the wedding also emerged. One was headlined Tiaragate. It was claimed Meghan had demanded to wear a tiara she had chosen from the royal collection. But due to the unknown provenance of the diamonds, her request was refused.
Prince Harry had a word with courtiers to say that he really wanted Meghan to have her first choice. I think the words were, what Meghan wants, Meghan gets, and that really didn't go down very well at the palace at all, so much so that the Queen did intervene, and we understand had a word with Harry about his and Meghan's behaviour, and was told in no uncertain terms that Meghan would get what she was given.
That was supposed to be the first moment that Meghan had a bit of a hissy fit, perhaps thinking princesses get what princesses want.
More negative headlines followed. Reports surfaced her personal assistant had quit her job after just 6 months due to the Duchess's demands. These included having to deal with emails at 5 o'clock in the morning.
The press are speculating as to why, because you would think this would be the dream job, to be working for this glorious new woman who's entered royal life.
Meghan's American can-do attitude was reported to have come as a shock to royal staff.
There was an article about how Meghan had this, quite incredible energy, these 5 a.m. starts. She starts her day with yoga, and then literally she's firing off emails to courtiers, and this sort of West Coast atom energy was just something that courtiers were not used to. They didn't quite know how to handle it.
Everything does move slower here, and things are often decided by a group, and things go forward for the sake of the whole family and not just one member of that family, because that's how they've continued to make it work.
Broadcaster and comedian Gina Yashire is a commentator on British affairs for American TV. She thinks Meghan has been treated unfairly by the press.
Meghan is a grown-up. You can't mould her because she's been moulded by life. So you just got to get used to the fact that she's got her own personality, her own ways of doing things, and her own time in the morning that she wants to get up. If she was getting up at midday, what would the headlines be?
But some feel that Meghan needs to tread carefully in her new role.
Well, Meghan always said she was going to hit the ground running. It's like, I've got to go, 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 go. I've got to get it all done now. I think she needs to chill and slow down a little bit and observe.
Lady Colin Campbell has written numerous royal biographies, including one on Harry's mum, the late Princess Diana.
Meghan needs to understand this is the British monarchy. This is England. This is not California. And she's not in a TV show. This is not a performance. This is the real story.
And former butler to Princess Diana, Paul Burrell, claims to know all too well the powerful forces Meghan may be up against.
I know the way Buckingham Palace works. I've been there. Buckingham Palace is like Downton on speed. I know that Meghan will not be popular with everyone. They like things to stay the same. We have Meghan surfacing now as quite a diva in the royal family. Well, she's a mature woman. She knows what she wants. And she's out to get it.
But soon would come shock news. Harry and Meghan were leaving Kensington Palace, his childhood home. Could this mean all was not well in the House of Windsor?
If she doesn't conform and do as she's told, who would want to be a princess? Who would want to be a duchess?
Six months after their fairy tale wedding at Windsor Castle, the new Duke and Duchess of Sussex embarked on their first overseas royal tour, taking in Australia, New Zealand, Tonga, and Fiji.
There's nothing like a royal tour to really throw you in at the deep end, and it doesn't matter how prepared you are. Given Meghan is so new to the job, she excelled in every possible way.
Ulavanaka. It is a great privilege to be with all of you today.
It was during the royal tour that Meghan and Harry announced they were expecting their first child.
There was a tide of goodwill towards the couple, who were still riding on the crest of that very happy royal wedding wave.
Myself and my wife, we are so grateful to be here. We bring blessings from my grandmother.
For over 1,000 years, the royal family has been a largely Caucasian institution. So Meghan really does represent the multicultural society that the UK is today. And of course, their baby is going to be the first biracial baby born into the royal family.
But when the couple returned to Britain, they had to face the press reports of a growing rift between Meghan and her sister-in-law, Kate.
Harry and Meghan had an incredibly successful tour to the South Pacific, and then suddenly, boom, they get back, and Kate and Meghan hate each other. It was extraordinary how fast this happened.
In late November came an unexpected announcement, which increased speculation about the feud. Harry and Meghan would be moving out of their home in the grounds of Kensington Palace, where William and Kate also live, to Frogmore Cottage on the Windsor estate. To many, it felt like a much bigger deal, the newlyweds simply finding a new home.
I think in many ways, for Harry, who has spent his entire lifetime in William's shadow, the idea that he wants to sort of break free of that, to be his own prince, to be his own person. Why should he live in William's pocket? And so the idea that the Fab Four were actually going to be splitting up actually suggested that the Fab Four weren't that fabulous.
But some royal commentators think Meghan and Harry's decision to leave Kensington Palace was motivated more by impending parenthood than the rumoured rift.
Now you're making new babies, new families for yourself. It would probably be healthier to have a bit of space.
Harry is obsessed with privacy, and he's seen what's happened to William's children. Every time they go out into the park outside Kensington Palace, someone takes a snap of them.
With the Fab Four destined to head up the royal family, Kate and Meghan's relationship is vital for the monarchy's future. But the new royal sisters-in-law come from vastly different backgrounds. One, a Los Angeles-born actor and passionate activist who has never been afraid to champion her views. The other, home counties born and bred, a perfect fit for the future king.
Kate is the quintessential English Rose. She went to private schools. She was never a feminist in the way Meghan is. She never was outspoken. Meghan, on the other hand, is a driven girl. She came from a totally different kind of family. It was dysfunctional, her parents were divorced, and Meghan had to strive for everything that she got. So they're two very, very different characters.
I think Catherine Cambridge has been impeccable. She's very stylish. Oh, she's very measured. She doesn't have a big personality, and she doesn't have the big ego to go with the big personality.
It does seem that Kate is a much more natural fit. Obviously, she's from the United Kingdom, highly educated, beautiful woman. And the same is to be said for Meghan, but in a completely different way when it comes to culture.
Oh, Meghan's done an awful lot right. She's very charming, she's apparently very down-to-earth, she's got dignity. Whatever her failings, she's got dignity.
I don't really understand why there's really any negative press surrounding Meghan. She seems to do a very, very good job, but there are a number of people, and it seems to be quite aggressive, either pro or against Meghan.
The press was quick to focus in on the differences between the two duchesses.
In the media, they were pitted against each other. One quite loud, outspoken, ambitious, American, and then the shy, retiring English Rose. And I think it's sort of very convenient for the media to sort of pit these two women against each other.
Meghan's been passionate about her favourite causes since childhood.
As a young girl, Meghan was always outspoken. I think she knew exactly where she wanted to go. She had a very clear idea of what was right and what was wrong. I think there was a sort of an ingrained moral compass.
In 2015, she spoke at the United Nations Women's Conference to promote gender equality. But since becoming a royal, protocol has dictated that Meghan can't air her views as freely.
She knows that she's got to worry about what she says to whom, but that's pretty hard. If you've been open, quick, clever, American actress, and then suddenly you have to think, I have to think twice if I say this to this person. That's quite a lot of responsibility for one person who, after all, is living in a country she wasn't born in.
She's a strong, independent woman whose views are going to be very difficult to change, and that's where she's going to clash with members of the royal family and the royal household if she doesn't conform and do as she's told. Who would want to be a princess? Who would want to be a duchess?
However, Meghan has found outlets for her social conscience. including in the aftermath of the Grenfell Tower fire. She made several visits to a West London charity, where women affected by the tragedy come together to cook for the local community.
She went down to see the hub kitchen. She immediately thought of an idea of a cookbook.
The cookbook Meghan helped inspire was published last September, with the aim of raising money to help continue the project's work.
I said in the foreword that this is more than a cookbook. And what I mean by that is the power of food is more than just the meal itself. It is the story behind it.
It was a huge success, raising enough money to expand that project, have a new kitchens put in, increase the amount of meals that they could provide.
Press coverage has been fantastic.
But despite the positive impression Meghan was making through her charity work, reports on the royal feud have recently been emerging on a near-daily basis. But are they true? Or have the press exaggerated the story to sell more newspapers?
Here we have a very mixed-up country, slightly divided country, to know where we should go next. And then there's the dream, the absolute dream, a right royal knockabout. If you were an editor, which would you like to put on your front page? Which do you think would sell newspapers?
The media today is driven by social media and internet coverage. I think that a lot of rumours about Kate and Meghan are manufactured to sell newspapers. An editor in Canary Wharf actually said to me, "We've never let the truth get in the way of a good story." And I think there's an element of that with Kate and Meghan, this rivalry of two sisters. It's just too good a story not to print.
But journalist Carol Malone disagrees. With decades of tabloid experience, she says that rumours about the royal rift are likely to have come from inside Kensington Palace.
The media, contrary to popular belief, do not make up stories. The fact of the matter is we hear things, we get told things. And the fact, people always say, oh, well, you haven't named anybody. Well, of course we haven't, because you can't name some of the people that are saying derogatory things about Meghan because they would be fired. I get asked a lot, you know, who does the leaking of stories from inside the palace and inside various organisations? Well, the fact is, disgruntled people do the leaking. People who think stories should be out in the public domain do the leaking. People who get upset that one picture is being portrayed and it's not the whole picture.
And recently, royal correspondent Katie Nicholl published yet another shocking revelation about the royal feud.
I was told that the underlying tensions, the rift was actually between William and Harry. You know, the brothers with the unbreakable bond. They were a brilliant team together, but they were also fiercely competitive. Often that's quite friendly competition, joshing over who's losing their hair the fastest. But I think there is an underlying competition between the boys, and there have certainly been instances of sibling rivalry.
How much inter-service rivalry is there between you two?
None at all.
No, not at all, really.
I mean, everyone knows the army's better than the
I'm an old
RAF.
cavalry boy anyway, so it's fine. There's good bands between army pilots and RAF pilots, obviously, as well.
They'll joke about who hasn't done the washing up, or, you know, William will have a go at Harry for eating him out of house and home. But actually, a rift over his choice of bride is far more serious.
Katie Nicholl's article also claimed there was a fallout between the brothers when Harry accused William of not doing enough to welcome Meghan into the family. She also says that William tried to warn Harry off marrying Meghan.
William was quite concerned that the relationship had moved so quickly, and being close to Harry, you know, probably the only person close enough to say to Harry, you know, this seems to be moving quickly, are you sure? And I think what was meant as, you know, well-intended brotherly advice just riled Harry. Harry is hugely protective of Meghan. He saw that as criticism. He interpreted that as his brother not really being behind this marriage, this union, and I don't think things have been quite right ever since.
Other royal commentators claim that if Harry and William have drifted apart, it could be down to Meghan's influence.
Everything I hear is that Harry is completely beguiled by Meghan and completely enthralled to her and has changed considerably. People do change when they get married.
And before Harry met Meg, he was around at Kensington Palace. He was eating with the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. He was very much a part of their family. And then suddenly he meets Meghan and falls in love, and he's off. So he's sort of suddenly out of their lives. And there may have been some resentment.
As speculation continued to grow, all eyes were focused on Buckingham Palace. The royals haven't forgotten the divisions caused when another American woman married into the family. Would the Queen now be forced to step in herself to broker the peace?
These are two really important couples, and so any discord, the Queen will realise better than anyone else, could have real negative repercussions for the family, and she'll want to avoid that at all costs.
Royal sisters-in-law Meghan and Kate are two very different women from very different worlds. But over the last few weeks, their rumoured rift has rarely been out of the headlines.
The rift was always an inevitable narrative in this whole saga because, the idea of two duchesses having a catfight is frankly too irresistible for the press not to go near.
Kensington Palace was forced to deny the feud, saying that Kate's row with Meghan over her treatment of staff never happened. But some press reports claimed the Queen has had to intervene.
Our Queen is a very wise woman. Every morning at her breakfast table, she reads every newspaper. And if there's something which disturbs her, she will mention it to her children. Is there any truth in this rumor? Can you tell me about this?
Some think if there is a serious rift, other senior members of the royal family might help to broker the peace.
The Queen's very knowledgeable. She knows how the press works, the ups, the downs, and all the rest of it. She might say to her son, Charles, you're their father-in-law. Knock their heads together, please.
Whether or not the Queen or other members of the royal family have stepped in, the traditional Christmas morning church appearance was the perfect opportunity for the firm to make a show of unity, with Meghan and Kate appearing side by side.
If there's one thing the royal family's good at, it's public relations. But I think also probably the two couples, they've all been around long enough. Meghan too, with what life was like in terms of being in the public eye before. They knew what was at stake, so of course they were going to show up and be all smiles. But actually watching them, it felt very genuine. It felt like an authentic family Christmas.
It's obviously staged. Fake. We all know it's fake. None of us are fooled. You don't have to like each other. That's what family's about.
While the royals closed ranks over Christmas, Meghan isn't the first newcomer that struggled to adjust to palace life.
Meghan has been catapulted into the most traditional family in our country, the royal family. How is she going to cope with it? She's known nothing like it. Unlike Princess Diana, who was reared in a house as big as Buckingham Palace on the Althorp estate, she was even lost. When Princess Diana joined Buckingham Palace, there were pitfalls. People set traps. People weren't very kind to this young girl coming into this world. Buckingham Palace is a minefield for any person going inside for the first time. Who would want to be a member of that family?
Diana was the perfect princess at the beginning. Everybody loved Diana. Oh, she's so innocent and pure and wonderful. But then as soon as she started to have opinions, then suddenly the press turned on her. There was all these horrible stories. That's just how the British press is. They put you up on a pedestal and they get you as high as they possibly can so they can drag you down.
Now with Meghan in the role of the newcomer, as she continues to adjust to royal life, it's not just the family that she has to learn to deal with.
There are two different elements to Buckingham Palace, the royal family and the royal household. I personally think the royal household is far more difficult than the royal family. They're what Princess Diana called the grey suits. They're the ones that made Princess Diana's life hell. They're the ones that are going to make Meghan's life hell too.
The royal family have this great tradition of using people in their staff, if they can, who've often been related to people who used to work for the Queen's father or for the Queen earlier in her reign. And suddenly they look at this woman and think, I've got a daughter who's really pretty. Why didn't Prince Harry marry them? And of course, there's bound to be a bit of jealousy. Why did he choose an American, not a Brit?
Meghan isn't the first American divorcee to marry into the royal family. In 1936, when Edward VIII decided to abdicate and marry Wallis Simpson, it threw the country into a constitutional crisis. His brother, George, the Queen's father, ascended to the throne, and Wallis took much of the blame.
The wars in the royal family have been the wars that have been well recognised, like apparently the Queen Mother with Wallis Simpson. She had a very logical reason for that war. She thought becoming king killed her husband prematurely because he was nervous, he had a stutter, he died at 56. Had he not become king, he might have lived longer with less stress.
Edward and Mrs. Simpson were all but banished from Britain, living the rest of their lives in France.
I knew the Duchess of Windsor. Wallis Simpson was, contrary to the reports, a very well-bred American from a top-drawer Southern family. She was honourable and she was decent.
Wallis did say some very interesting things. When she came to live in England, she did say she found the English very difficult. So she kind of hung out more with American society, with a slightly brasher, more flamboyant society. She kind of avoided those very stiff, rigid English.
80 years on, the royals have moved with the times. Unlike Wallis, Meghan has been accepted into the family. But does the press coverage have overtones of old-fashioned sexism?
If you're a woman and you're ambitious in Britain, that's pejorative. If you're a man, that's admirable. But they do like pitching women against women because there is this view that women are bitches.
The press can be quite sexist in that respect. A story about two duchesses falling out, having a catfight, is a far more tantalising story than two princes who genuinely have had some real tensions in what was once a very close friendship.
As well as battling sexism, some think Meghan's mixed-race heritage has also made her a target.
The classist and racist England will never forget that she's a black woman and she's come in and snagged Prince Harry. Every newspaper I opened, I was like, oh, racism. Oh, some more racism. Oh, some dog whistle racism. Oh, there's a bit more racism. Everything was about her race.
I think there's a number of different articles, one in the Daily Mail, and I think what they were trying to suggest is that she's in some way not appropriate or not good enough to be a member of the royal family.
Back in 2016, when this article was published, Prince Harry released a strongly worded statement attacking the press coverage of his then-girlfriend.
The royal family were really shocked, actually, by when the news came out about Meghan and Harry dating, about this coverage, and there was racism, there was sexism, and they were very shocked by that, and it has continued. She is really suffering a lot of the prejudices.
And there's another reason Harry wants to protect Meghan from the newspapers. Most royal watchers believe he and William feel the press are in part to blame for the death of their mother, Diana.
They will protect them against anything: hostility, criticism, media invasion. To them, their mother was killed by press invasion, by media invasion, and they are determined to protect their wives.
Meghan has also had to deal with repeated attacks from her own family in the media. Channel 5 presenter Jeremy Vine put the claim she was damaging Meghan's reputation to her sister, Samantha Markle.
You described her as Princess Pushy. You dubbed her narcissistic and selfish. Duchess of Nonsense.
The Duchess of Nonsense, I did say.
You have insulted Meghan so much, your sister. She would be well advised to pull up the drawbridge on the royal castles, wouldn't she, Samantha?
What was going on that didn't make sense is that I really started to feel protective over our father.
So you shouldn't have said it?
Yes, but it was more or less...
Did you apologise for it?
To my sister, absolutely.
Then, in a recent interview on Good Morning Britain, Meghan's father, Thomas Markle, complained the Duchess had broken off all contact with him since the wedding.
I've been trying to reach out for several weeks. Every day I try to text her. I just haven't received any comment back. All I can say is that I'm here. She knows it, and I've reached out to her, and I need her to reach back to me. I love her very much.
One thing Meghan doesn't really have now is a public voice to refute all of these claims. Very sensibly, the royal family's approach is never complain, never explain. Unless something is seriously damaging and defamatory, they're not going to say anything, because all it does is further fuel the story.
I just wish that the whole debacle with the Markle family could be resolved. I don't think it looks very good.
Meghan is part of the next generation, charged with taking the royals forward into the future. But there can only be one queen. Will Meghan now be prepared to fall into line?
Whenever there's a procession, Meghan will be down the line with Harry. Kate will always be in front. This is going to be alien to her, going into this world and having to curtsy to everybody, including her sister-in-law in public. Meghan has to understand that. That's protocol.
For the last few months, the royal family has been dogged by rumours of a feud between sisters-in-law Kate and Meghan. And with reports claiming that Harry and William's close bond is also under strain, how will it affect the future of the royals?
In my mind, any rift is not going to jeopardize the future of the monarchy. They've seen a whole lot worse than a reported spat between duchesses. They just need time to allow their friendship to build and develop, which it will over time.
And I think the palace are very keen to stop any rumours of a rift as we go into 2019, because they don't want that dominating the headlines. What they want dominating the headlines is these four great, bright, young people who are modernising the monarchy. That's what they want to put out.
But as Meghan continues to adjust to life as a royal, there are still potential pitfalls ahead.
The track record of people joining the royal family isn't very good. Marriages haven't lasted. Do you wonder why? Living within the confines of Buckingham Palace and the royal family is stifling. If I was to give Meghan advice, I would say to her, stay close to Harry and get to know his granny. She's the one that matters most.
Meghan Markle will succeed brilliantly as long as she has the modesty and the good sense to understand that she is a part of the show. If she goes in thinking, I'm going to change the system and I'm going to improve it. It's going to be a disaster.
With Harry and Meghan recently deciding to leave Kensington Palace and set up their own household, many royal observers see it as inevitable that the two couples' different destinies will see them leading increasingly separate lives.
Well, I think the Fab Four is going to be the Fab 2 and 2. I really don't think there is a future for the Fab Four. William and his family will be the primary future of the royal family.
So when William is king, he's not just going to be reigning over the country, he's also going to be in charge of the royal family, because that's what happens. So William will eventually be in charge of Meghan and Harry, and that does change the dynamic somewhat.
Whenever there's a procession, Meghan will be down the line with Harry. Kate will always be in front. This is going to be alien to her, going into this world and having to curtsy to everybody, including her sister-in-law in public. But Meghan has to understand that. That's protocol.
The simple fact that obviously she did grow up in a completely different country is going to mean that she will have to adapt, she will have to learn a lot of new things in order to be able to fit successfully into her new family and her new environment. But I'm sure and confident that she can do that.
Meghan is not going to be queen. Meghan has more flexibility, just as how Harry has more flexibility than William will ultimately have. So Meghan can be a little bit more adventurous.
Some believe the two couples' different roles mean Kate and Meghan will continue to grow apart.
I think we all love the idea of them being the best of friends, but the reality is that they're two very different women.
But there's one more role Meghan and Kate will soon have in common. With Meghan due to give birth in the spring, how will impending motherhood change their relationship?
I'm hoping the girls will need each other. I think Meghan having a baby will change the dynamic. They'll both become mums, and that changes everything. Screaming baby at 2 in the morning, who would you ask? You'd ask your sister-in-law, who'd been through exactly the same experience.
They're going to be working together for many, many years to come. So, no, I think everyone will get over themselves, move on, and be excited for the new baby coming in the spring.
While motherhood might bring them together, as future queen, Kate is bound by tradition, leaving Meghan to redefine what it means to be a royal mum.
Kate wasn't a career woman. Her priority was William. It always has been. That Kate has grown into the role that she now is, a mother and a dutiful wife.
I expect we'll see baby Sussex in a sling round his father's neck or his mother's neck, whereas we've seen the Cambridge babies in large prams that used to be popular between the wars. It's just a different future they've got.
Whatever the future for the Fab Four, they've already helped modernise the royals and made them more popular in the process.
In the past, it was less necessary for royals to engage in truly helping people. I do think that certain people within the family, especially younger, Prince William and Harry and Kate and Meghan, really connecting with people and ensuring that we represent their ideals. I think that should be celebrated. I think is really good.
Oh, I'm very hopeful about the future of the royal family. Monarchy has lasted for thousands of years. Hollywood hasn't even been going properly for 150. Let's keep a sense of proportion here.
And for Meghan and Kate, what will the years ahead bring for the royal sisters-in-law?
They're going to be different. We just have to get used to the fact they're going to be different. They've not been together for more than about 18 months. Let's wait and see how they are in 5 years' time.